Hello everyone and welcome to Angelo's Kitchen. Today we'll be making a Neapolitan pizza dough. Pretty simple, just takes a little bit of time for it to rise, and we'll go through that process. So here I have 9 cups of flour. All-purpose or bread flour would be perfect for this recipe. I'm using all-purpose flour today. I have 2 teaspoons of instant yeast. You could also use rapid rise yeast, but this one's just a plain instant yeast. And I have 2 teaspoons of salt. We have here 1/2 cup of olive oil. And we have 3½ cups of water. So here I'm just going to mix it real quick here in the bowl with my bowl scraper, and just continue turning the bowl and folding till all the water is incorporated in the dough. And then we will take it out of the bowl and knead it a little bit. So as you can see, I'm just grabbing the dough and keep turning the bowl and kind of just like smearing it against itself just to get it well incorporated. Make sure I don't have any flour showing in the dough. And then once we have cohesive mass, we can put it out on the counter and knead it a little bit. So this dough builds a lot of flavor in the refrigerator as you let it sit overnight, but you can certainly leave it out on the counter for a few hours and use it a little quicker, but it's best if it sits in the refrigerator overnight. So now I'm just going to take some flour that I put here on my counter, and I'm just going to lightly sprinkle the counter with flour. Roll out the dough, and we're just going to knead it. So what we're looking for here is just a nice soft dough, and I'm just going to sprinkle it with a little more flour here. Now it does help to have something to scrape your counter with, as it is a sticky dough. And we don't want to put too much flour because we don't want to dry out the dough too much. This is a soft, sticky dough, and as we knead, it will come together a little bit. So once we have somewhat a soft dough, we're just going to let it rest so we can give it one more knead. And again, it is a sticky dough, so it's got a little bit more body here. I'm just going to let it sit and relax a little bit, and we'll come back and finish our knead. So here our dough has sat about a ½ hour, and as you can see, it's relaxed a little bit. Now we're ready for a quick knead, another quick knead, and then we're going to put it in a well-oiled bowl so we can refrigerate this overnight. And then when we're ready to make the pizza, 2 hours prior to making the pizza, we'll pull it out and we'll roll the dough into little balls. So here we go. Just dusting my hands with some flour and a little bit more on the dough. Not too much flour. We don't want to incorporate too much flour at this point. We're just trying to get this nice and soft, which it already is. And it does stay a little wet and tacky, so it's just the nature of the pizza dough. So here we have it, our pizza dough ready to go. And we're going to give it that overnight fermentation just to build the flavor. And I'm going to put that right in the well-greased bowl. And then I also like to spray it with some type of vegetable spray. I use an olive oil spray. And then we're gonna cover it in plastic wrap and refrigerate it overnight. So here we go. It's been about 6.5 hours. I didn't leave it overnight because I'm a little impatient, but as you can see, it's more than doubled in size. And now we're going to mold it into probably 6 different balls, equal balls out of this, or equal portions. And then we'll let it rest a couple hours before we start stretching the pizza. So just punch it down a little bit. And I have a little bit of flour that I'm gonna flour the counter here. Not too much, because you want to be able to roll it into different balls. So I have a plastic pastry cutter here, and I'm just going to try to get this into 6 equal portions. And you can use a knife if you don't have one of these pastry cutters. And I have a silk pad here that I've greased a little bit. And all I'm going to do is we're just going to form it by just tucking the ends in like this to make a nice round ball. And we're going to place them on our greased silk pad. You can use parchment paper or just the tray if you don't have any of that. Just make sure it's well greased. And again, we're just forming nice little round balls. All right, we'll let those rest 2 hours and then we'll stretch our pizza dough. So here, if you don't have a pizza stone, you can do it with sheet pans. You just turn them upside down, preheat the oven to the highest temperature that it goes. This oven goes up to 550, so that's the best we can do. So that should be hot enough for this application. So here we go. Our dough has rested and it's now at room temperature. So what I've done here is I've floured my board here with a little bit of flour and a little bit of cornmeal. Just to get started, we're just going to flatten this out. A little bit more flour, a little bit more cornmeal, just a little bit, just so that it doesn't stick. Flour your hands really well. So we're going to do this, we're going to try to stretch most of this with our hands, the back of our hands and our fingers, stretching the dough till it's nice and thin. Sometimes you do get a few holes in it. Without using a stronger flour, it's a little more tender and soft. So basically just using your fingers here to stretch the dough, kind of letting gravity do some of the work. If you get a couple of holes in it, just put it down and pinch them back together. If you want to be ambitious and toss it, you can certainly do that as well. I haven't been successful with that at all. So if it gives you too much resistance, you can just let it sit for a little bit and relax, and then stretch it again. But this one, a couple of thin spots, but it's going to work just fine. So again, you can leave this as thick as you like or as thin as you like. I like my pizza a little thinner. And as we're doing it, you don't really have to crimp the edges or anything like that. As you're stretching, you're kind of creating your own edges. So here I have one done on the peel already. Ready to go. I have some cornmeal so it slides right off into the oven. And we have some toppings here. So I have some fresh basil that we're going to use and some thinly sliced Roma tomatoes, some prosciutto, some fresh, thinly sliced mozzarella cheese from Belgioso, my favorite. And I also have some sharp provolone from Belgioso that I'm gonna shred into my cheese mixture here. I have a soft cheese, which is fresh whole milk mozzarella in here. And I have some fresh cheddar cheese as well. And then I'm just gonna grate a little bit of this provolone to mix in with it. Just gives you a lot of different flavor and different profiles from the cheese. So again, I'm just gonna shred a little bit just to mix in there. And you can use a box grater. I have this fancy little gadget here that kind of just contains all the cheese when shredding. So you probably want about a cup of cheese. Add it to, I got about 2 pounds of the other 2 cheeses. Equal amounts I did. So this cheese, you can also use a Parmesan or Reggiano cheese as well. Just adds a little sharpness to the pizza. So we're just gonna mix those up. I'm gonna make a couple of different pizzas, but as you know, the options are endless. So here I have some plain tomato sauce, and this is an imported Italian sauce from Mutti, M-U-T-T-I, and I just added a little bit of dried oregano and dried basil to it, and that's all that's in it. So less is more on pizza, so just enough to coat the pizza crust. So as this bakes in the oven, it's going to thicken up, and so you don't need too much. You want to be able to sustain the dough as well. So on this particular pizza, I'm just going to put some fresh mozzarella. And again, less is more on pizza. And I got some fresh basil that I'm just going to tear up. A few thinly sliced tomatoes. And there we have it. That's our caprese pizza. And I'll show you how to put that into the oven. So our oven is at 500 degrees, and you just slide it right onto the sheet pan, and that's it. Simple as that. So here we go, about 10-15 minutes in the oven. As you can see, it's nice and crunchy on the bottom, nice color, crispy. Just gonna add a little bit of shredded prosciutto on this. And a little bit of balsamic glaze. And there we have it. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please remember to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And please leave a comment if there's anything specific you'd like me to show you.